Hey guys, it's been a while since I've sat down and talked to you all, but after nearly a year of being gone, I'm back with a brand new video. As you can tell from the title, today I'm going to be doing a review of Danganronpa S Ultimate Summer Camp. And I know I'm pretty late to the party, but I really wanted to come on here and give you guys my true thoughts on this game. Especially since when it was announced and as more details and art were being revealed from the game, I had really high hopes for it. Based on everything being shown leading up to the release, I was impressed with almost everything I was seeing. It seemed like the game was a real passion project for devoted Danganronpa fans, and we would get to see all of our favorite characters again, without the despair and without the killing, finally. Instead, they will be interacting with each other in an expanded version of Danganronpa V3's Ultimate Talent Development Plan, which was a decently fun minigame that I sunk a few hours into, just to see some of the interactions between the characters of all three games. It checked all the boxes for me pre-release, and was part of the reason why I pre-ordered Decadence in the first place, especially since I felt like it would be really hard to fail with this game. They even went and actually acknowledged the Spare Girls, like, can y'all actually believe it? Honestly, I'm still shocked about that to this day because for a long time, the Spare Girls got no type of acknowledgement whatsoever, but they finally get some spotlight here, even if they are missing some people. How could you possibly ruin such a fun and simple concept that any Danganronpa fan would love, especially since this was an anniversary celebration? Well, step 1, you put microtransactions in it. Alright you guys, I know that intro might seem like I'm about to be super negative in my review, but I promise that's not the case. Even though I definitely had different expectations for what I thought this game would be like, I do feel that at the end of the day, it did a lot of things right, even if it did do some things wrong along the way. I'm just gonna be 100% honest and real and tell you guys from my perspective whether it's personally worth it or not for you to get this game for yourself, if you haven't already anyway. But before we get into the review, please give this video a thumbs up if you're looking forward to the rest of it, and please subscribe to my channel if you're not already. I know my uploading schedule is really up and down, but I work hard on my content for you guys and I really appreciate any support you guys give me, even if it's just criticism on how I can make my videos better. Now with that out of the way, let's get into this. So I'll admit right now that I haven't spent a long time playing this game. In fact, I only spent around 5 hours playing it, and that was on release day, mind you. But honestly, 5 hours of playing this game is really all you'll probably get through, and I'll tell you why later. But first, I'll give you guys a general overview of the game, because for the first 2 hours or so, it actually is pretty fun. Being an expansion, Danganronpa S expectedly plays very similarly to Ultimate Talent Development Plan, which from now on I'm going to be referring to as Development Plan because that name is way too long. The game has 2 modes. Development mode is the board game from V3, and characters from all 4 games are playable, although most of them start off locked. From the beginning, you're only able to play as the protagonist of each main title, which of course are Makoto, Hajime, Komaru, Kaede, and Shuichi. So obviously the game already gets points for making Kaede immediately playable. I really thought they were going to shade her and make her a locked character, so I'm really happy they did my girl justice and made her a default character. Thank you guys so much. She's literally on the fucking cover, for crying out loud. Let's give my girl some respect. After you pick your character, you're thrown onto the first island, and this is where you begin training your card. The purpose of development mode is to have your character advance through the island and land on squares. There are a lot of squares to land on, but only 5 really relevant ones. Battle squares force an encounter with an enemy, and this is where the RPG element of the game kicks in, and your character battles against whatever the hell these things are. These tiles are really the easiest and best way to level up your character, as you gain experience from each battle, and all your attributes increase upon level up. The combat system in this game is really straightforward and not really hard at all, at least in this mode anyway. Battles are typically over in like 5 seconds, and you rarely run into anything threatening, not until you get to the bosses at least. It's simple, yet surprisingly effective. If you're a fan of older RPGs, I can really see you enjoying this part of the gameplay. Also, the battle theme is really good, even if it is just reused from V3. Friendly squares play a cutscene with you and other characters, often ones from other games. This blending of timelines is honestly really cool to see, and makes for some really unexpected friendships, rivalries, and chemistry between characters that you probably wouldn't expect. I think the game does a great job with the characters' personalities. No one seems to act out of character, at least from all the cutscenes I've seen, and the writing is pretty good at best and decent at worst. It's just a shame that these cutscenes are so short. There are a lot of them, so I can imagine going really in-depth with every character would be challenging and time-consuming, but it would have been nice to see some characters' interactions with each other be a little bit more fleshed out. But ultimately, these small interactions are a pleasure to see, and they do add a bit of characterization to these characters, especially ones that didn't get much of a chance to display their personalities in their respective killing games. I had a commenter point out to me that in this game, Tero expresses how he watches his language around children, which is adorable, and shows that he cares about being a good role model for kids watching him. Things like this with these characters are just nice to see. It's nice to see that Rentaro really does travel the world in this timeline, and that his classmates and friends talk to him about his explorations, and even ask him for tips on traveling. Getting to witness two characters like Hiyoko and Himiko argue and taunt each other like little sisters, and having Mahiru act as the big sister among the both of them, it was so fun! It's like watching the DR slice of life anime we always wanted. Even getting a peek at the relationship between characters who didn't really get much of a chance to interact in their respective games, like Kaito and Kaede for example, really made me happy as a massive fan of V3. I know I find a way to talk about Kaede in all these videos, but during my first playthrough of V3, I was so excited to see these two interact with each other, and visually, I always love this pairing together. So I was so excited to have Kaede max out his free time events and see how their relationship developed. Of course, we got robbed from that experience, we already know the story about that. So it really was nice to see the friendship between these two in this game, along with countless others. Moving right along, next we have growth squares, which increase your level when you land on them. These are really good towards the beginning when you're trying to get to a certain level to defeat a boss, or just generally trying to boost your attributes. Event squares are fun little squares that trigger a random event when you land on them, but honestly, besides having hilarious little scenes sometimes, I don't really tend to land on these squares too much. Finally, talent squares reward you with talent fragments when you land on them, which you'll use to buy skills for your characters. Skills can be used in combat and offer a range of effects, and they're essential in battle mode where the enemies become a whole lot tougher. As you advance through the island, you'll inevitably get into random encounters with none other than the Monocubs. I have to say though, I like the role the Monocubs played in this mode, at least in the beginning. They essentially act as wild cards and may either reward your character with things like cards or upgrades, or completely screw you over and do shit like steal your money or ruin your equipment. Still, I didn't mind their presence too much at first. Even though their encounter rate has to be hella high because they appear a lot, it's sometimes refreshing to see them, as they give me a break from hours and hours of playing the same boards over and over.
Rise and shine, Ursine! Hey! Actually, so long, farewell!
Once you defeat the first boss, you'll get a scroll, and this will allow you to fight and defeat the next boss and advance to the next island to do the exact same thing you did on the first island. By the way, don't try and fight these things without getting the scrolls for them, because they will annihilate you. As the days of the calendar count down, school events will trigger that give you even more interactions with the characters. I really like these moments, even though they're short as hell, because it's nice to see some of my favorite characters interact without having to worry about them murdering each other for no damn reason. Besides those though, there's really not much else to talk about. Once you defeat the boss of the second island, you fight the boss guard in the third island, beat them, advance, wash, rinse, repeat until you run out of days. At the end of the 50th day, your character will be leveled up and you'll be able to use them in the battle mode. Now, I'll give the game some credit here. Battle mode is definitely a lot more engaging than development mode, and if I ever had to return to this game again, I would definitely choose to play battle mode over development mode, because this is where you use the characters you develop and pit them against waves of enemies. The first few towers start out pretty easy, but the difficulty gets harder the higher you advance. When you complete a tower and complete the achievements, you get coins to use in the store, which you can use to unlock more characters via a gacha system. Why they decided to include a gacha system in this game is beyond me, but we'll get to that later. I actually started doing pretty good in the battle tower, and it was fun assigning the characters into typical RPG roles. Kaede, of course, was my healer, Shuichi and Samugi were my DPS, and Jotaro, to be honest, I don't know what he was doing, but I had to include him because I love him. Besides, it's not like I have many characters to choose from in the first place. but it quickly started becoming overwhelming, and by the 5th level everything just went downhill and I got my ass whooped. Guess I have no choice but to run my characters through development mode again to get better skills and better attributes, but do I really want to do that again? Especially when one run of development mode already takes a good 40 minutes to an hour, especially if you're trying to see all the cutscenes and extra little content. You really have to stop and ask yourself, do I really feel like cycling through the exact same islands over and over again for each character I want to use in the battle mode? And here's where we get to my main gripes with this game. For starters, I really do think the amount of grinding you're expected to do in this game is truly ridiculous. Like I said, each run of these boards takes a good 40 minutes to an hour. Maybe it's a little faster if you auto through everything and just focus on battle squares and growth squares to increase your level. But if you're skipping through content, what's the point of playing the game at that point? By the time you run through development mode the 4th or 5th time, the novelty of the interactions and the aesthetics of the boards kind of just wears off. You're incentivized to get to as many islands as you can during your turn, which means you have to beat the bosses as quickly as your character is able to. This means skipping out on a lot of the fan service to get your character to a sufficient level, rush over to the boss, beat them, run over to the next boss, beat them, get access to the next island, and do the exact same thing over and over again. At a certain point, it really just stops being fun and starts being a chore. You have to grind coins to grind for characters, then you have to grind those characters to use them in battle mode, then grind in the tower to get coins to grind for more characters, and so on. It's miserable. Of course, if you're willing to spend money, you can save yourself the grind and just go buy your favorite character from the vending machine in the store. Yes, they actually put microtransactions in an anniversary game. When I first heard about this, I was willing to give the situation the benefit of the doubt because I believed unlocking characters without paying for them would be a lot easier than it is. I was wrong. The simple fact that microtransactions are in this game in general is honestly just, it makes no sense to me. For one, why? It's not like the game is some free little mobile game. We paid money for this. And secondly, why the hell would you put microtransactions in an anniversary game of all things, where you should be appreciating the fans of the series for the long time support? And it's not even like the cards they want you to buy are original art, like the cards you see in other gacha games like Love Live, Ensemble Stars. Hell, even Fire Emblem Heroes had some good original artwork sometimes. These are just sprite edits. Cute sprite edits, don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying it doesn't take work to edit a sprite, but I work for a living. I already have one gacha game taking my money as it is. If you really think I'm gonna spend money on little pictures, when realistically you shouldn't be charging for them at all, yeah, no. So honestly, we can just stop the review right here. At the end of it all, Danganronpa S is really nothing more than an easy, low-risk way to get a couple extra dollars out of the wallets of dedicated Danganronpa fans. I will admit that it was enjoyable the first couple hours, but as I said before, repeated playthroughs are quickly gonna burn you out. Development mode just isn't compelling or robust enough to warrant multiple playthroughs, even if you're an avid fan like me and you really want to see all the extra content and cutscenes. Seeing them will be a challenge in and of itself just because of the ridiculous grinding requirements needed to play through every single character and see every little 2-minute scene. I'm really not trying to sound antagonistic against these games, but I won't sit here and act like I wasn't disappointed when everything was all said and done. Yes, there is new content, but the new content is very limited, and like I said, the novelty wears off fast when the main mode you need to play to level up characters has 0 replayability. Overall, I give Danganronpa S a 6 out of 10. I won't say I regret getting it, as it came bundled with Decadence, which ported the series to the Switch, which was way overdue. But Danganronpa S specifically really isn't as fun as I hoped it would be, and the inclusion of microtransactions really rubbed me the wrong way. I would say to only get this game if you're a massive fan who's willing to sit through all the grinding to see the new content for yourself, or if you think you really enjoy the battle tower and don't care about spending money to get the characters you want. The primary reason to get this game would definitely be to see the exclusive character events, but I'm pretty sure those are all up on YouTube anyway, so that cancels out pretty much the main reason to buy this. Just skip out on this, or maybe pick it up when it goes on sale, if that ever happens. Thank you guys so much for watching my latest video. What did you think of my first game review? It was honestly really fun to write the script for this, and I hope I did a good job. I'm super excited to see what everyone thinks. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time with a brand new video. Bye!